Have you ever wondered why the price of a flight or a hotel room seems to change almost every single time you look? Well, I can tell you, it's definitely not random. It's actually a super fascinating, high-stakes business puzzle called revenue management. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain on how companies price products that literally have an expiration date.
Okay, let's just dive right into this. Because this one idea is the absolute heart of the entire problem. Think about it. Unlike a can of soup on a shelf, you can't just stock an unsold hotel room for tomorrow. The second that clock strikes midnight, poof, its value vanishes, forever. You can just imagine the pressure that creates to sell that room every single night. And that, right there, is the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? How do you possibly price something that expires daily, has huge fixed costs, and gets sold to all kinds of different people with totally different budgets? Well, the answer isn't just guesswork. As we're about to see, it's this powerful mix of science, art, and a whole lot of technology. To really get our heads around the solution, we first need to appreciate just how unique this problem is. Revenue management isn't for every business. It really only works under a very specific set of conditions.
So what's so interesting here is how all these factors come together to create the perfect storm. You've got a fixed number of rooms. You can't just build more for a busy weekend. That inventory, as we said, is perishable. The cost of the building, the staff, that's really high, but the cost of cleaning one more room, super low. And here's the kicker. You can sell the exact same room to a business traveler and a vacationing family for completely different prices.
So, faced with this whole perishable puzzle, the hospitality industry had to get smart. They turned to a totally data-driven solution. This isn't about gut feelings or what you think the price should be. It's a science, and it's all about predicting human behavior to find that perfect price. So, let's look at the official definition.
Whoa, okay, I know that definition looks like a mouthful, but it perfectly captures just how complex this is. I mean, think about it. Every single one of those rights is a constantly moving target. The right client? That might be a business person on a Tuesday but a tourist on a Saturday. And the right price? That could change by the hour. It's just a massive, massive optimization puzzle.
Now, you might hear another term thrown around, yield management. But honestly, in professional circles, that's a little bit old school. Think of it this way. Yield management is the tactic. It's laser-focused on just the room price and occupancy. But revenue management, that's the grand strategy. It looks at the whole shebang. The money a guest spends at the spa, in the restaurant, at the bar, absolutely everything.
So can you imagine trying to manage all of this with like a bunch of spreadsheets? It would be completely impossible. The sheer amount of data, from past bookings, competitor prices, what local events are happening, even the weather forecast, is just staggering. And that's exactly where specialized software comes in to save the day. So this right here is the engine that drives the whole process. It's called a revenue management system, or RMS for short. This thing is what replaces all that guesswork with hard data. Instead of a manager sitting there manually checking competitor websites, the RMS does it in a flash. It automates all the boring stuff, which frees up the humans to focus on the actual strategy. And most importantly, it helps hotels improve their key metrics, like growing occupancy at the best possible price.
But here's the thing. Technology is just the tool. The real magic happens when you combine all that data with clever strategies that actually understand customer psychology. This is the art of revenue management.
And this illustrates it perfectly. This is not a one-and-done decision. It's a continuous cycle. You collect data, you forecast what demand is going to be, you set your prices, you manage your inventory, you push it out through different channels, and you communicate. And then you start the whole thing over again, constantly learning and adapting.
Okay, so here's where it gets real, because this stuff translates into things you've definitely experienced. Have you ever seen a 2-night minimum for a big concert weekend? Yep, that's inventory control. Or notice prices are higher on the hotel's own website versus some third-party site? That's distribution management. The core idea is to segment your customers, knowing a business traveler isn't as price-sensitive as a student, and then use dynamic pricing to offer them different rates.
So with all these strategies and tactics in play, how does a hotel even know if it's winning? Well, they use specific metrics, called Key Performance Indicators, or KPIs, to track how they're doing. Let's build the most important traditional one right now.
It all starts with the granddaddy of hotel metrics, RevPAR. That stands for Revenue Per Available Room. To figure it out, you first take the
Average daily rate, or ADR. That's just a fancy way of saying the average price that guests actually paid for the rooms that were sold. Then you multiply that number
by your occupancy rate. So together, RevPAR gives you this really powerful snapshot of how well you're doing at both filling your rooms and getting a good price for them. But as we're about to see, just looking at room revenue, well, it isn't enough anymore.
And this brings us to a much more complete picture. Today, the new gold standard is GOPAPR, or Gross Operating Profit per Available Room. This is a huge leap forward because it looks way beyond just room sales. It counts all the revenue from the spa, the restaurant, parking, and then it subtracts the costs. It answers the single most important question: are we actually profitable?
This field is anything but static, you know? Technology and what guests expect from their stay are constantly pushing it forward. So, what does the future hold for the price you pay? Well, there are three huge trends that are taking over. First is AI, and this idea of hyper-personalization. This means the system could create a price just for you based on your past travel. Second, data is becoming real-time, so prices won't just change daily, but instantly, reacting to a competitor's move or a big flight cancellation. And finally, all these different systems are becoming fully integrated, creating this seamless flow of data that makes it all possible.
But of course, it's not without its challenges. A lot of hotels are still struggling with old, disconnected systems that don't talk to each other. The world is also way less predictable than it used to be, which makes forecasting a lot harder. And, just getting the sales, marketing, and revenue teams to all work from the same playbook, that remains a constant struggle.
Which kind of leaves us with a final thought to chew on. As these systems get incredibly, almost scarily intelligent at predicting exactly what you're willing to pay, it really makes you wonder, who is that perfect price really perfect for? The hotel's bottom line or your wallet? Something to think about next time you book a trip.